once the lion was walking in the jungle and he wanted to check what other animals think about him, or what other animals think who is the king of the jungle. So he was going, first he approached the monkey. He said, "Monkey, who is the king of the jungle?" And monkey was scared. He said, "You are, sir, you are the king." "That's right, and you never forget this." So monkey passed the test. But then he went to a snake. "Snake, who is the king of the jungle?" And snake felt the mood of the lion. That lion was a little strict. She was also scared, and with her hissing sound, he said, "You, sir, you are the king of the jungle." So then it came to a lion, to an elephant. And he said, he stands in front of the elephant and said, "Elephant, who is the king of the jungle?" An elephant just having his lunch, vegetarian, and he was chewing. And he just didn't pay attention. He was just chewing, continued chewing, didn't even look at him. Now, lion is getting angry, starting to roar a little bit. "Elephant, who is the king of the jungle?" Elephant ignored him. He didn't want to take away his attention from eating his lunch. Now, the lion started roaring even more loudly, asking him who is the king of the jungle. And then the lion looked at him, took him with his trunk, catch him with his trunk, and smashed him off the tree. And then, you know, in cartoons, when somebody smashes you, you have stars above your head. So lion was a little bit shocked and a little bit hurt, and he just a little bit recovered from this smash, and he said, Okay, you don't have to get angry just because you don't know the right answer." So what is the lesson from this story is that we may be great, but there is always somebody greater. We may know a lot, but there is always someone who knows more than us. And therefore, we need some external source, an external assistant, in order to progress in life. We need help. And the Bhagavad Gita, we all say that the Bhagavad Gita starts at 2:13, Dehi Nosminyata Dehe Kumaram Yuvananchara that the verse that describes that we are not this body and that we are changing material bodies, but the soul remains the same. But actually, to me, the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita is 7th verse, Karpanya Dosha Pachatasvabhava, where Arjuna admits that he is confused and that he needs help. So the beginning of success is that you admit that you cannot make it alone, that you need help. And of course, Arjuna also surrendered himself as a disciple to Krishna. But he said, "Please, I am now so surrendered to you, and please instruct me." So he was asking for help. Because the situations are very confusing. There was his relatives and teachers, nephews. On the other side, he was supposed to fight. And he was supposed to see this with his spiritual eyes, to see this situation and this war that is just about to start. So now we have our body, we have our mind, we have our intelligence, and there is a whole science of psychology that speaks about the mind. So people are trying to understand the mind. But so far, there is so many mysteries in relation to consciousness, in relation to the mind, and scientists and psychologists and psychiatrists, they don't always understand what's happening in the mind. Sometimes there is this, like diseases, mental diseases, they don't understand what is the source, and they don't have a complete understanding of the mind. So psychology deals with the mind. And we see that in the Vedic scriptures, the mind is described in so many details. The functions of the mind, and what is the mind. And the mind is the part of the subtle body of the human being. We have a subtle body and we have a gross body. And subtle body is consisted of mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are subtle coverings of the soul. So this is described in detail, and in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in chapter 6, he says that the mind can be a friend and the mind can be an enemy of the divine. So which mind is a friend? The mind which is controlled is the friend. The mind which is absorbed in spiritual content is a friend. And the mind which is uncontrolled is an enemy. And it can destroy a person. And there are three functions of the mind: thinking, feeling, and willing. And plus there are two functions: sankalpa and vikalpa, accepting and rejecting. So at every moment we accept or reject a certain idea or a certain object that we encounter. And then thinking, feeling, and willing are functions of the mind that also can be spiritualized. Now, if one wants to have a beautiful life, he has to develop a beautiful mind. Otherwise, he cannot have a beautiful life and he cannot be happy. What is inside of our mind manifests also through our behavior, and also depending on how strong the mind is and how pure the mind is, how we process what happens to us, how we process different things that we see, that we hear, that we smell or touch or taste. It depends on the, I would say, evolutionary level of the mind. So the human mind is an amazingly powerful energy. But Vedic literature explains that there is a spiritual mind and there is material mind. And when the spiritual mind is covered with the material energy, then this mind is also very powerful energy which can keep the living entity conditioned in the material world. So due to the mind, we go from life to life, we go in the cycle of birth and death due to our mind. And now, when you become aware that you are not the mind, that you are the soul, and that you can actually control the mind, and that that soul is about the mind, intelligence is also about the mind, mind is about the senses. When you understand that this is energy that can keep you in the material world, but you can also engage this energy in the service of the Lord, this subtle energy, then you create a chance for you to become liberated from the conditioning. So this conditioning is manifesting through the mind and through the senses. And different bad qualities like lust, anger, and greed are manifesting through the mind and through the senses also. So I have been looking in the scriptures a little bit to find something about the beautiful mind. And in the whole database, I have found only one quote from the 10th or 11th canto, where there is this phrase, beautiful mind, is there. So beautiful mind in this verse or in this purport refers to the mind of Krishna. So God has a beautiful mind, and we can say that saintly personalities or pure devotees of the Lord also have a beautiful mind. So what are the characteristics of a beautiful mind? In the beautiful mind, thinking, feeling, and willing are beautiful. And they are spiritualized. They are spiritualized. And with the mind, you can do amazing things. Even if you cannot do devotional service with your senses, you can do devotional service with your mind. There is an example of the Brahmana from South India who didn't have deities. He was poor. He didn't have resources for deity worship. But he worshipped the Lord in the mind, and he did everything that is there for the worship of the Lord. He did everything in the mind, including cooking. So he was cooking sweet rice, and he wanted to make sure the sweet rice is cooked and that it's not too hot or too cold to be offered to the Lord. So he was doing all this in the mind, and he puts his finger, and his meditation was so strong that he burned his finger. So this means that service in the mind is as real as the service with the senses. Of course, we engage our senses in the service of the Lord, and we are not as advanced as this Brahmana. But this is an example how one can engage in spiritual activities and how his mind can be beautified by devotional service on the level of the mind. And there is another example of Nrisimhananda Brahmachari, who used to be called Pradyumna Mishra and Pradyumna Brahmachari, but Lord Chaitanya gave him this name because Lord Nrsimhadev would appear to him in his dreams. And first he was called Nrisimha Brahmachari, and then Lord Chaitanya gave him a name, Nrisimhananda Brahmachari. So sometimes, as you advance in devotional service, sometimes you may even change your name. Like when you take sannyas, you change your name. Sometimes it's similar, sometimes it's not. Then he imagined how the Lord is going to Vrindavan and how he was creating a beautiful road, all bedecked with gold, for the Lord to walk on. This was such a powerful meditation. So with his beautiful spiritual mind, he was doing devotional service in the mind. And this was accepted by the Lord as the real devotional service. I mean, as a devotional service which we see manifest in the physical realm, on the physical level. And what else we can see? Like thinking, feeling, and willing are beautiful. That means that this person is thinking. What are the thoughts of a spiritual person or a person who has a beautiful mind? This person, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, is always thinking of the welfare of others. It is described in the verse 16 of the chapter 17, the austerity of the mind. Always thinking how to serve others, how to help others. Of course, thinking about Krishna and devotional service to Krishna and service to devotees also, it's a symptom of a beautiful mind. But always thinking how to serve, how to share, how to give love, and thinking of those persons that he loves. Then feeling, what is the feeling? The person who has a beautiful mind has always very spiritual feelings. He has feelings of love, he has feelings of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the very, very powerful and prominent qualities of a beautiful mind. Beautiful mind is always grateful, and this manifests through his speech or her speech, that always thanking, being grateful for everything one gets. So gratitude is recommended in the Shastras also, and Sri Prabhupada said we should be grateful for the walk, for the earth we walk on, for the water we drink, for the air we breathe, and what to speak of other things. And we are grateful for everything that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So instead of being depressed, one can actually practice gratitude. We are depressed because we don't have something. But if we count what we have, we can immediately become grateful. We can immediately become grateful and feel very good. And happiness gladly enters a grateful heart. Happiness gladly enters a grateful heart, and happiness does not enter ungrateful heart. Happiness does not want to enter ungrateful heart. So this is very important, to be grateful. And now, to be grateful for pleasant things or for some resources is not so difficult. But to be grateful for problems, for troubles, for pain, that is more difficult. But one whose consciousness is developed and who has a beautiful mind, he is also grateful for trouble. Like Queen Kunti, she was even praying for trouble because she knows when we are in trouble, we are more serious and we remember you, mighty Lord. So we always have resistance that why this is happening to me, why I have to suffer this and this and that. And in the Shastras, it is said that we get less than we deserve. We get minimized karma, but still we object. Why this is happening to me? Why my train left 1 minute before the departure time and I lost it. So one quality of the beautiful mind is that it doesn't blame anybody, especially not God. And therefore we have this amazing story in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam of Avanti Brahmana, chapter 23, who was teaching us how not to blame anyone. When he started his spiritual life, he started to be tortured by people, and attacked by people, and injured by people. But his thinking was high class. With his beautiful mind, he was saying that conditioned mind is the cause of my suffering, not these other people or circumstances or karma, astrology, all these things. I'm just working on a book about Avanti Brahmana because I gave some seminars, a series of lectures, and I'm trying to put it in a written form. This is such an important part of the Bhagavatam because this is also related to the verse 10:14:8, Canto 10, chapter 14, text 8. So 14th chapter is the chapter where Srila Prabhupada's disciples started to translate Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada translated the first 13 chapters of the 10th canto. But he has the verse from that chapter he has quoted many times. Tatenu kankam susamikshamana bunjaneva kritam namaste jiveta sadaya bhak. Srila Prabhupada in the Nectar of Devotion says that this verse should be the guide of all devotees. And this verse is directly related to the story of Avanti Brahmana. So this verse says that the devotee never blames God. He knows that he gets less karma than he deserves. Also, this is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajan, that the devotee gets less karma than he deserves. The Lord minimizes karma on people. How much he minimizes? Srila Prabhupada gives an example. Imagine that you have made a criminal offense and you have to pay a fine of $1 million, and the judge says, okay, you pay a few cents. So this is the magnitude of the minimization of our karma. It's highly reduced. Our karma is highly reduced. So beautiful mind doesn't blame anyone, especially it doesn't blame the Lord. And it's always grateful. It doesn't criticize others but it doesn't criticize even yourself. Also. Over criticizing ourselves also is counterproductive and is considered to be self-sabotage. We can be strict with ourselves, but not do it too much because it may become discouraging. So we want to balance, to have a balance in dealing with the mind. One of the qualities of a beautiful mind is compassion. Always has compassion for all the conditioned souls, seeing them as brothers and sisters, sees them as children of God, and always want to benefit them by connecting them to Krishna. By giving them Krishna consciousness, which is the highest welfare activity, Srila Prabhupada said. It's the highest welfare activity to give people Krishna consciousness. So we have this power to observe our thoughts, to observe our feelings. And one very important quality, which is the third function of the mind, desiring or willing, is that the quality of the desires of a person who has a beautiful mind are different than the quality of the desires that everybody else has. Many people think they are special, but I tell them, if you are special, you have special desires. If you have the same desires as everybody else, and maybe you have green hair, this doesn't make you special. So desires make one special. And you have a desire to serve God, to serve everyone, to support people, to sacrifice for the benefit of others. These desires are special. These desires are high class. If you have a desire to give rather than to take, if you have a desire to be selfless rather than being selfish, then you may consider yourself to be special. Actually, special people never think they're special. They think they're not special. They think they're ordinary. They think they're conditioned. But you can see by their behavior and by their activities, you can see that they are different than others. You can see that they are different than others. So we want to follow in the footsteps of such personalities. And one of the practical manifestations of a beautiful mind is how one speaks. Because what is in the mind, it manifests. And the way we should speak is described also in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Anudvega karavakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyaya vyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchete. The austerity of speech is speaking words that are pleasing, beneficial, truthful, not agitating to others, and always reciting the Vedic literature. So the same thing also you can apply to your mind. Beautiful mind always is full of thoughts that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, not agitating to you, and always full of Shastric content. Always full of Shastric content. In the purport to the 54th verse of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada explains that the most important quality of any man is how he speaks. Because this speech will be the manifestation of what is in his heart, what is in his mind. So one who has a beautiful mind speaks in a beautiful way. And in the 11th canto there is a beautiful verse that says that the voice of a pure devotee is like a flowing water. And as we go in the mountain and hear how the water is cascade and going up and down the riverbed, similarly, the voice of a pure devotee is sweet because he always glorifies the Lord. He always glorifies the Lord. And pure speech is described also in many places, like speech of Prithu Maharaj was full of meaning, full of love also. It was meaningful and clear and interesting. So speech is described in many places, and this kind of speech is the manifestation of a beautiful mind. So by people's activities and by people's words, we can see whether they have a beautiful mind or not. And for me, it's always interesting how people think or how they see things. And I always like to hear a perspective of someone else. Like, for example, if I stay here and in front of me there is a number 6, and if Bhaktamarillo stands on the other side, from his point of view, it's number 9. So both of us are right, but just from different perspectives, you have a different experience of what you see. Similarly, in life, some people can see things this way, that way, and both may be right, but people fight and quarrel because they think that they are the only one who is right. So we have to understand that there is other people's perspectives. And we have to accept the fact that other people are different than us. So this accepting attitude is also a symptom of a beautiful mind. The late Bhakti Charu Maharaj, who passed away recently, he was such a person. For example, if he would be somewhere talking to someone, like in Mayapur, when hundreds and thousands of devotees come from all over the world, if he was talking to someone and somebody was past who knows him, they want to greet him, he would invite them to sit. And then another person comes, oh yes, please come. And then everybody, he would talk to everybody at the same time, in one way or the other. So he was accepting, he was just accepting. He had a beautiful mind. And he was also, one who has a beautiful mind is kind. This person is kind, always kind. And also, one symptom is that he is shanta or peaceful. One who has a beautiful mind is peaceful. So a person who has a beautiful mind always thinks of Krishna, always thinks of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes, and always thinks of how to serve devotees, how to serve Krishna's devotees. And now, I want to say something about internal dialogue. The way how we talk to ourselves. Like, recently one devotee told me, I'm not sure. So we spoke about, I recommended you say no with a smile. Because when you want to serve, then so many people want to engage you. And at some point it becomes too much. So I have to learn to say no with a smile. I have my limits, how much I can do. So maybe some other time, or I already have so much. And then this devotee told me, I have this bad feeling that I'm rejecting people. So I said, this is maybe because the internal dialogue you had before about that people will not accept you or that you are not good if you reject someone. And I said, if you let people know that you have your limits, they will actually understand. They will accept it, or most of them. Sometimes maybe some of them get angry, but they have to accept that you are not unlimited. You have not unlimited energy. And you have already so many services. So this negative internal dialogue is something that we develop maybe because of our parents or because of our teachers or because of our neighbors or somebody who was telling us you are bad and this is impossible and this will not work. And we develop this habit of negative inner dialogue. And we want to turn this into positive inner dialogue. Because one who has a beautiful mind has a spiritual inner dialogue and the positive in the dialogue. So we can take charge and take control of how we talk to ourselves. It's also called self-talk. So we need to talk to ourselves in a way that is actually supportive. So what can we do? Acharyas address the mind with my dear mind. Mm-hmm. My dear mind. As if the mind is the person. My dear mind, why are you so much in illusion? My dear mind, why you are so much attracted to sense gratification? So if we address the mind, if the mind starts to say something negative or criticize or something destructive, then we say, my dear mind, why are you doing this? Then the mind will say, well, that's my job. My job is to help you to degrade yourself, to help you to give up serving Krishna. This is material mind, conditioned mind. But we also have a spiritual mind, which is the beautiful mind, who can help us. So we as a soul are more powerful than the conditioned mind, and we can dictate to the mind instead of the mind dictating to us. So if the mind says, you are not good, and you say, yes, but I'm trying my best. If the mind says, this cannot be done, you say, what are your arguments? Why do you say it cannot be done? I think it can be done, and here is my reasons. The mind says, everything is useless, everything is hopeless. You say, no, this is not true. I see so much hope, and I see the purpose, I see the meaning in everything. Everything has a meaning. Even bad events, even unpleasant events have meaning. I am learning from my mistakes also. So we can always turn around this inner conversation. We can always turn it around. Now, something that is more difficult to turn around is proposals for sense gratification, especially sinful sense gratification. The mind will put these proposals, conditioned mind. And the beautiful mind can say, well, you are proposing something that I know will bring me suffering. Maybe it will bring me some temporary pleasure, but it will bring me suffering. So let us engage this tendency in Krishna service. So the mind can tell you, well, you should play a wonderful rock song or pop song with your guitar, like you used to do. You say, okay, I can do that, but the lyrics will be Krishna conscious. So the mind says, well, it's not the same, the other one was better, a little bit more tough, baby, I love you. You say, no, we can say, Krishna, I love you, devotees, I love you. It's nice feeling. You say to your mind. So there is always this conversation between the beautiful mind and the ugly mind. And the ugly mind wants to help us to get degraded. What are the two functions of Maya, or Krishna's illusory energy? Avaranatmika Shakti and Prakshipatmika Shakti. First function, cover you over. Second function, drag you down. First, cover you over, cover your intelligence, and then drag you down. And you are swimming in the whirlpool of illusion and suffering again. So we need to keep our head above the surface of the material ocean and always try to go up. And if we develop a beautiful mind, then we will be able to control the ugly mind, and we will be able to advance very nicely. And one who has a beautiful mind, even maybe he doesn't have a beautiful shape of his face, but this person actually radiates beauty. Radiates beauty because of what is inside. It says that the eyes are the index of the mind, or eyes are the index of the soul. So every soul is beautiful, and when it's connected to Krishna, it becomes actually the real beauty of the soul manifests when the soul is engaged in devotional service. So these were some of my thoughts today that I wanted to share with you about a beautiful mind. I'm planning to write an article or maybe even a book about this, because there is so much to be said about the mind. But again, I want to mention something I mentioned at the beginning. If you want to have a beautiful life, you have to develop a beautiful mind. Otherwise, it will not be possible. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna. Do you have any questions? Thank you for coming for the program. Do you have any questions about the mind or any other relation to Krishna, in relation to Krishna consciousness?
Yes, we can think different person. Someone is more intelligent than others, but the no intelligent person is more difficult to be Krishna consciousness. No intelligent person than one is intelligent person can be more the advantage to be Krishna conscious. When he is intelligent, can be more quick in Krishna consciousness. That is my question. You understand?
What is your question?
My question is, you have one intelligent person.
Having intelligence, is it advantage?
Yes, that is the question.
No. If you have spiritual intelligence, it is advantage. But if you have material intelligence, you just become puffed up. You are more proud. Janma Ishvarya Shruta Shivir. Shruta means learned, knowledgeable. So there is 4 obstacles. Good birth, you're proud. I'm from aristocratic family. Wealth, I have a lot of money. Devotees are poor, I'm better. Learned, I have big diploma education. And physical beauty. These 4, if you have, as opulences, 4 material opulences are obstacles, because they may keep you conditioned. And you may think you're better than others. But if you have spiritual intelligence, then you will understand Krishna consciousness. You will understand. If somebody is less intelligent in the material sense, he may be very simple-hearted soul, and he may be very faithful to God. You know the story about the cobbler and the Brahmana? Have you ever heard this story? So they were asking when I will go back to Kothia. Narada Muni was asking Lord Vishnu. And Vishnu said, Brahmana will go in some next life, but cobbler will go immediately. And he said, but how is this? So he said, go to them and speak to them, and they will ask you, what is my Lord doing? My Lord, whom I worship, what is he doing? Both were worshipping the Lord, both cobbler, this shoeman. So when Narada Muni was asked by the Brahmana, what is my Lord doing? Narada said, oh, he's putting an elephant through the eyes of the needle. With the needle. And Brahmana said, this is impossible. How can Lord do this? Narada said, okay. He left. When he went to the cobbler, and the cobbler asked him the same question. What is my Lord doing? And Narada said, he's putting the elephant through the eyes of the needle. And I think cobbler started to cry. He said, oh, my Lord is so wonderful. I'm completely convinced he can do that. Because if he can put a huge banyan tree in a little seed, then he can put elephant through the eyes of the needle. So he had such an amazing philosophical understanding, better than the Brahmana. And he was a simple man, just very woochie job. dealing with people's shoes, repairing people's shoes, but he had a great faith and great spiritual intelligence. He had a great spiritual intelligence. So, yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes?
Our spiritual consciousness, our Krishna consciousness is awakened by Krishna, by the grace of Krishna. And and throughout our lives, he directs us, let's say, in order to go to him. And I was wondering how to listen better, how to listen better when our intelligence tells us that something is better for us in order to progress in Krishna consciousness. How do we pay more attention to that spiritual intelligence? And how do we discern the material intelligence and the spiritual intelligence and listen better?
Well, if you read the scriptures and if you listen from the devotees, you will awaken your spiritual intelligence, which you already have. And then you will be able to make a difference. Because material intelligence is always giving you ideas how to avoid God. Mm-hmm. You may be sophisticated way, but still, you know how to avoid God. Some people avoid God by impersonalism. Some people avoid God by self-gratification. Some people avoid God by mystic powers, becoming a yogi. Mm-hmm. But the devotee doesn't want to avoid God. He wants to actually come closer to God. So everything that takes you further from God is done by material intelligence. And you will develop more, the more you read, the more you will develop this compass, and you will understand that, yes, I always have a choice. I always have a choice. I can choose Krishna or Maya every single minute of the day. Mm-hmm. And if you're with devotees, then you usually choose Krishna, or you're trying. But more difficult is when you're alone. Then, you know, if you understand that the Lord is a super soul in my heart, and He's watching me, and then I want to show Him that I'm serious. I want to ask Him how to remain serious even when I'm alone. Then you can make right choices when you are tested. Today, Maya offers this, Maya offers that, and you say no. Like when you watch YouTube, then you have different videos. And usually devotees are looking for Krishna conscious videos like Srila Prabhupada's lecture or Kirtan or some recording of the festival or some public program or Krishna conscious movie. But there are so many things that YouTube offers. So Krishna is watching what you will click. And then you have to show him that you're interested in clicking on the Krishna conscious video. And one thing that you will develop if you continue, it's called paramdrishta nivartate. It means higher taste. When you have a higher taste, then you know the value of material sense gratification. So it may be still attractive, you still, the senses want, but you know, I know the value of this. It looks very attractive, but actually it's very, very cheap. Cheap thrills. One book is called Cheap Thrills. Cheap excitements. And also, it is described as punah punash charvita charvananam, as chewing the chewed. Everybody has chewed the chewing gum. And you know when chewing gum has no more taste, but you still try to chew? Mm-hmm. So this is what we are trying to do with the enjoyment in this world. Mm-hmm. We are losing taste more and more, or the Lord has taken away the taste, but we are still trying to enjoy it. Because we have this impression that, well, I enjoyed a little bit in the past. It was mixed with suffering, but still there was some enjoyment. And I have no great taste for the holy name. I have no great taste for serving Krishna. So this is described as somebody who has jaundice and he has no taste for sweet. So the medicine is to continue taking candies, sugar candy, and the taste will come back. So continue taking higher taste, devotional service, chanting the holy name, engaging in the service of devotees, hearing about Krishna, and the taste will come back. And then you will, one time you will feel so much taste that you will not be attracted anymore with material sense gratification or sinful sense gratification. And it will take time for this. It will take time. It will not happen overnight. But if you know that you're on the right track, then you can go for it. And associate with devotees who have higher taste. They're excited about kirtan. They're excited about hearing about Krishna. They're excited about giving people books. They're excited about prasada, not about outside restaurant, noodles or something, whatever, Chinese. So they're excited about things in Krishna consciousness that bring excitement and pleasure. And when you associate with them, your taste will grow. Okay? Okay, so thank you very much. Yes?
I have one more question, bro. Because you spoke about internal dialogue. And I mean, growing up, I really had a difficulty with something. It took me a really long time to get over that. And especially because I think you also said it depends on how you speak also to yourself. And due to the thing that happened when I was younger, for a long time I had very difficult in seeing myself as doing something good, I mean, but on my own, I could not have done that. It's also, I think in the beginning of the class, you also said something that by guidance or something. And it's also that on my own, I could not have done that. I really needed somebody that could pull me through that. And if I would not have done that, then I would now not sit here in the class, but I would sit really in the back, So I was very happy when you touched that part from internal dialogue, because you were speaking and I was thinking about my thing that happened in the past. And it's quite amazing actually how we often also tell ourselves that we are bad, or we ourselves can drag ourselves so much down also. Just our way of thinking.
Yeah. It's called self-sabotage.
Okay.
In coaching, this is normal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not normal. It's frequent. It's often it's an issue. So we have different ways how we sabotage ourselves. For example, by taking intoxication, by doing sinful activities, by negative self-talk, by habits that are harmful habits, different types of habits. So how to make a shift? We have to make a shift by practice. One of the greatest success formulas that I know of is daily practice.
Mm-hmm.
Daily practice. And small efforts in the right direction bring great results over time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, great people, they don't become great overnight. They are great because of what they do every day.
Yeah.
Daily investments. Like Nelson Mandela.
Mm-hmm.
He was in prison for how many years?
I don't know exactly, but for a long time. Yeah, I was thinking around 30 years almost.
Yeah. So when he came out, there was a dinner because he was nominated for the president. And there was a dinner, and he invited his prosecutor. And he invited the guard, who was always, sometimes torturing him. He invited the guard. And journalists asked him, Mr. Mandela, how can you forgive these people?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they kept you in prison for so long. Do you know what he said? So he has a beautiful mind.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if I would not forgive them, I would still be in prison.
Wow.
Mental prison.
Mm-hmm.
And Bhakti Maharaj, he actually met him.
Yeah,
They spoke.
that's true.
We spoke about world peace. There is a picture on the internet you can find. I just sent him some photos and videos. Yeah. So Nelson Mandela had a very forgiving mind. He forgave. But actually, in the beginning, it was not like this. He started to be depressed and feel bad and criticize. And then he figured out, if I want to survive, I have to stay here for a long time. I better change my attitude. So he worked consciously on having a proper attitude and forgiving. And he came out with a smile. Can you imagine that?
Forgiving is like healing.
Yes. Forgiving is actually for you, because you free yourself from poison. From poison in the heart. So unforgiveness is also self-sabotage. Unforgiving, not forgiving others for what they have done to us, is also self-sabotage, because we act against ourselves by this.
Yeah. It's true that it does actually a lot. I mean, speaking about myself, when years and years later, I mean, like 20 years later, when I spoke with that devotee about it, when I finally found the courage to speak, it was like, it's like a load that goes away from your shoulders. And even when I went to speak like with a psychologist, you know, it was really like, when you can speak about it, you can finally let it go, you know. And that's why on a personal thing, I find very important for us also as devotees that we also have somebody that we can really speak to and be open with, you know, not only about our great things or whatever we do, but also about our difficulties in life. Not every day is beautiful yet, you know.
So last Sunday, I had a seminar here about devotee success partnership. And this partnership is meant to facilitate what you are saying, to facilitate open discussion about our strengths and about our weaknesses. And it helps a lot. And this is also related to what I said at the beginning of the class, that we have to understand that we cannot make it alone. We need help. And you may say, well, Guru is busy, there is not enough mentors. But if you have a devotee who is even your peer, then you have a structure how to discuss things, you can help each other a lot. I will just have in Zurich next Friday, I will have 2-day course, the same course, and we will record it. So we will go into more detail and more exercise. Here we didn't have exercise, but I just explained how it works. And I have posted some recordings of the same seminar from Goloka Dham and from Cologne, Kelm. But I want to expand this because there is much more to be said and to be practiced in this seminar. But we may have someone with whom we can talk openly, confidentially. It's also in the Upanashamrita, Guya Makati Prichati, confidential conversations is an important part of loving exchanges between devotees. So then this can help us a lot. And you can have this success partnership with more than one devotee. You can have it with several devotees. And when one is maybe not able to speak, you speak with the other. Or with one you speak about one topic, with another you speak about another topic. So there are so many devotees and they will all benefit from this two-way coaching or two-way association. So it's important to be able to express how we feel, to speak about our challenges or our weaknesses, so that it will be more easier to overcome them.
Yeah, I believe that, because even I mean, when we work, you know, I mean, it's always like, how are you? Everybody's always fine, but it's not always like that. But it's very difficult to be open to everybody, you know. But still, we need to have somewhere a space to let it go out. The negativity that keeps us down.
How are you is a wrong question. One question you can ask, how is your spiritual health? Or how are your anarthas? Or how are your goals? Then you can get more specific. In the Shastra, you have sometimes they address each other. It says, how is your quest for truth? Something like that. I have seen somewhere. How is your quest for truth? And then you're thinking, oh my God, what does that mean? Well, my quest for truth, I'm in complete illusion. And I'm not running after truth, I'm running after Maya or illusion. But this open conversation can help a lot. And then another thing that you can do in this partnership is you can have accountability. What does it mean? It means you send regular reports. How are you doing? How you have been battling against Maya this week? Well, it was quite successful until Thursday. Then I failed. So what was the difficulty? Okay, then you describe it. Then, okay, next Thursday or next week, I'm going to not fail. And I'm going to report to you every single day about my efforts to not fall into delusion and to say yes to Krishna and no to Maya. And in this way, you feel like a little bit extra pressure that to perform well. And you know, well, I have to report and I cannot lie. So better I shake myself up. So this shows Krishna that we are serious because we have accountability. You can also report to Krishna, but when you report to a devotee, I mean, you can phone him. Maybe you cannot phone Krishna anytime.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, is this recorded?
Yeah.
So could you send it to me?
I recorded it on Janmastami's laptop,
Oh, he can send it.
so then he can send it to you.
But it has to be saved.
Yeah, now I will save it.
So thank you.
No, thank
All
you.
glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Shri Nitai ki
Jai.
ISKCON Brussels ki
Jai.
Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki
Jai. Thank you very much, Baba.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Okay, Bhaktamanilio,
Yes.
give me a question. Give me a question. Give me a question. Give me a question. Give me a question.